So much has happened in the last week between the Swiss National Bank, the Federal Reserve, the Bank of Japan, the RBA, and so on and so forth. It was a wild week in the markets, but what's really the question is, what do we take away from all this?
What does this mean?
What's bullish, what's bearish going into the rest of this week, but going into next week as well? Let's talk about it. At the end of the day, the whole week could be summarized into two words: rate cuts. They're still on the menu. They are still in the picture for the Federal Reserve, if that's what we're talking about first, which is the one everybody talks about, right? The Fed. Fed, US, big economy. Fed rate cuts still in the picture, to my surprise. And, you know, in the past, I've been very correct and at other times very incorrect at trying to foresee what Jerome Powell is going to say. And this time I got it wrong. I actually thought Jerome Powell was going to say, well, interest rates, they'll still come down eventually, but inflation is still relatively high. I thought that was going to be the picture. Now, I'm not saying that it can't be possible that we do not see rate cuts this year, because there was something in Jerome Powell's speech that I really picked up on. And of course, you know, you can always kind of hear what you want to hear, but I do think that this is worth mentioning. Jerome Powell mentioned that rate cuts are still on the table. However, he said that rate cuts are coming as long as the economy, you know, is slowing a little bit and inflation's coming down. There's not a guarantee that we do see rate cuts this year. And I want to mention, there are people on both sides of this camp still. However, you can see the market's coming down a little bit this morning, but on the bigger picture, this week was a huge week for indices, and it also was a big week for gold as well. So now what we're seeing, however, is a little bit of a tick up in the dollar index. You can see dollars up, pound and euro are down, gold is down on the day here, and oil is a bit flat. So kind of an interesting end of the week here. And something I'm really curious about going into this end of the week time is, of course, on Friday, we get the latest round of commitment of traders data. That will be dropping and updating on the Edge Finder this afternoon. Now, this data is, of course, a bit old by now, as it is last week's filing, but the latest one, again, will be dropping this afternoon. And so I do want to say, if you guys are not already using the Edge Finder and you would like to be, there's going to be a link down below in the description. You can get 30 days access by filling out the trial form that is down, like I said, in the description. But, you know, I'm really curious to see if this shifts, because recently we've seen net positioning being pretty hot for commodities like oil, gold, and silver. Is that going to stay the same? What did they do with indices this week? I imagine there's probably some buying, but how much is the question? You know, what are they doing with certain currencies? Are the Australian dollar and yen still getting sold heavily? We'll get all of that information from institutional money at the end of the day. So again, get a trial, 30 days access down below in the description. In terms of setups right now, I did actually add a new position. I went long oil, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. I am still also long gold, despite the Edge Finder now giving it a neutral reading. I am still long and trailing stops on my existing position, but I added this trade when the Edge Finder, of course, was giving it a bullish reading. Then it had the big run up. Now I'm looking to just kind of trail stops and let it run. US 30 is getting a bullish read. However, 3 points of this are from the commitment of traders data, which could change this afternoon. So I'll be watching the Dow to see if this does remain a bullish instrument within the Edge Finder. On the bearish side, we have things like pound yen, pound dollar, pound Aussie, Aussie dollar, Aussie yen, Kiwi yen. Looks like we're actually getting some bearish setups on the Edge Finder. It's been a minute since anything has been bearish for some reason, and now suddenly we're seeing some pound weakness coming into the picture. And I was curious as to why the pound pairs specifically are looking a little bit bearish. So let's just really quick go through this. The commitment of traders data, by the way, is relatively bullish for the pound. So I'm very curious to see if that changes this week. Maybe these start to become red and we get some very bearish readings going into next week. Seasonally, not great for the pound. Okay, that's a couple points docked there. Trend has been a bit mixed, but bearish on pound and pound USD and pound CAD. GDP numbers, not great for the for the UK in relation to some of its peers. SPMIs coming out a little weak there. Retail sales looking a little disappointing, and you can kind of see that's shaping up to show us why the pound readings are getting bearish. CPI getting a -2 here for 2 different currency crosses, employment change, unemployment rate. So you can kind of see there's some lackluster stuff out of the pound. And so for now, I kind of reiterate that I think the pound dollar, pound yen are looking bearish in terms of the fundamental reads. Let's have a look at the charts. And here's the pound dollar dropping hard here this morning. This is a 4-hour chart, by the way. And so this is actually a pretty steep sell-off that we've seen recently. I would imagine that a pullback in these could actually be a good selling opportunity in my own trading. So I'll be looking at these as a possible 50% retracement, and we'll see if this does set up. I do actually like this trade quite a bit in favor of, if you are going to be a dollar bull, this would be probably where I'm looking at in terms of a setup. In terms of pound yen, let's do that one as well. GBP JPY, this one trending lower here this morning. Don't love this chart as much. The yen has been very weak, but seems like it's starting to get a little bit of a momentum here, especially considering we just broke support. That could lead to a bigger sell-off, so kind of interesting to see that with GJ. And here's a look at my oil position, which I am currently still in. Now, I do want to add some context here. I took one attempt to go long oil here, got stopped out, and then after this long wick, I went ahead and re-entered my trade. And so far we're slightly in the green. Let's see if oil can make a push. And if you're wondering why bullish oil outside of just what I think is a nice chart to the upside overall, let's take a look at that. So here's a breakdown for oil overall. COT still looking relatively positive. Retail positioning, not great for us. Seasonally good, trend good. GDP numbers slowing, not great for oil, but then PMIs kind of cross out. Retail sales looking good. CPI relatively hot still, that's good. Employment change, unemployment rate, they knock each other out. And interest rates slightly up. So there's your scoring, the Edgefinder's algorithmic output for US oil. Remember, of course, with the Edgefinder, you can select any of your favorite assets using this one, or you can just look at a summary page here on the top setups output algorithm. Again, the Edgefinder pulls in all the data, sorts it, basically computes bullish and bearish readings, and then generates the total output here. Real quick, I wanted to throw a shout out to our stream sponsor here on the A1 Trading Show, Forex VPS. If you haven't heard of Forex VPS before, they are a dedicated hosting platform where traders, especially algorithmic traders, can set up an in-the-cloud computer to run their MT4 24/7. If you have any experience trading with robots on MetaTrader 4 using expert advisors, they have to remain up all the time, and keeping your computer on is not always practical if you have like a power outage or that sort of thing. And with Forex VPS, you can set up a dedicated hosted computer in the cloud to host your MT4 or 5 platform. They have the fastest execution in the industry with latency less than 1 millisecond, which means when you place trades or your system places trades, it's near instant. So I've got my VPS open here from Forex VPS, and you can see, I just want to show how quick the latency is here. So if I click sell, you can see it is right away. I'm in the trade, all set, as if I was sitting on this computer, even though it's somewhere in the cloud. And for viewers on my channel, you can get 20% off your first VPS by using the link and the promo code TN20 down below. Again, 20% off with the code TN20, which you can find down below in the description. Here's a look at the NASDAQ. Seems like it's taking a bit of a breather here this morning after its crazy run up this week, and the S&P 500 even looking stronger. Possibly due for a little bit of a correction, a little bit of a pullback, but I've been saying that for a minute and I'm not holding my breath for sure because these things have just been so strong. But however, I've in the meantime been playing a lot more on gold, which has been going quite well. And keeping gold really simple, gold has been trending very well to the upside. We found this area of support. I have a stop loss below this level, but I'm not sure why. TradingView is giving me this error currently. They may be doing some maintenance or something. My drawings are not showing up, so I do have a trade. It's all marked up, but I'll just show you the actual GLD position. So this is my long position on gold. My average price comes out to about 193.52 because I did add to the position right around this area. So as long as gold continues to push higher, that'll be great. If it doesn't, if it breaks through structure, I'll stop out and take profits. And a quick check on retail positioning. Gold is about mixed, 48.52, so no strong readings there. But you can see here some of your contrarian signals: platinum, copper, Kiwi dollar, silver, oil, dollar Swiss, the Nikkei, euro dollar, pound dollar, Aussie dollar. These are more bearish contrarian signals because retail traders are very heavily long. Flip it around, we could take a look at some of our more contrarian bullish signals. We can see retail traders very short on the FTSE, the Dow, and the DAX. So giving us those slightly more favorable odds to the upside. Now, of course, retail positioning is just one indicator. Many traders, I've made this point recently in my videos, a lot of times people will overestimate the power of one single indicator. I think that's a terrible idea. Don't just use retail positioning as your guide. Use many things as your guide, right? These things in combination are much more powerful when looking at a bigger data set, when looking at a bigger set of confluence factors to give us the readings here. We mentioned the DAX. Here's the German 40. I mean, look at this thing. This thing is flying to the upside. I wouldn't mind being a buyer if it pulls back, but for now, this thing off to the races, and I'll just be a spectator. The Edgefinder is also giving a very bullish reading to euro pound. I'd like to check that chart out as well. What's noticeable here is you can see the euro pound is actually breaking through a multi-week level of resistance, and I'll be very curious to see if we can actually get a strong close outside of this range, because that could perhaps be signaling a longer term reversal to the upside. So keep an eye on this one. With that said, guys, next week will be a big one as well. Things continue to heat up in markets, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a pullback in the indices. And if that does happen, markets will probably get pretty interesting pretty quick. Currently, like I said, I am leaning heavily into the commodity side of things. We'll see if that ends up being the right call, but in the meantime, waiting on the sidelines for indices. In terms of currencies, I really don't have any strong biases currently in commodities. I am generally pretty bullish. So we'll see how it plays out. Have a great weekend ahead. If you're looking to improve as a trader, we've got some cool free resources here that I wanted to share as we close today's video. Down below in the description, there is a link to join our Discord channel or our Telegram channel. And we also have our website, a1trading.com, where traders can get access to free course material to help you improve as a trader. Remember, we are also live Monday through Friday on this channel around 9:30 a.m. US Eastern, broadcasting most live news events and that sort of thing. So hope to see you there. And also, we do have a couple videos here showing up on the screen. If either of these seems like it might be helpful to you, then make sure to click here or here, and we'll see you there.